Come on. Hey, welcome everybody. So glad to have you all here. This is a really, really big day for our organization, DESC, because this is the culmination of a lot of work that goes toward meeting our mission more than anything else we can possibly do. We're creating homes for people that haven't had them for really long periods of time. And that's something worth celebrating, and we're so honored to have you all here to join us in that. Sorry we didn't have a bigger space or more chairs for you all, but we'll try to keep this moving and allow those of you who haven't seen the building to be able to do that before you end up leaving here. So I'm going to open with some brief remarks, and then we have some very important guests with us who are also going to deliver some remarks here today, and then we're going to recognize our various key partners who help bring this thing into fruition. So hopefully we'll get through all of that relatively expediently and let you all go about your days and enjoy seeing this beautiful building. So as I started to say, when you work in homelessness, there's nothing better than changing somebody's circumstance from homeless to permanently housed. And it's really especially gratifying when that happens for people who have been homeless the longest and have the most profound life challenges. One thing we know from the data is that the best predictor of how long somebody's going to remain homeless is how long they've been homeless already. And the people that tend to be homeless the longest are people with the toughest obstacles to overcome, like serious and persistent mental illness, complex medical problems, long-standing substance addiction. So imagine having a combination of those conditions and living on the street. That's a recipe for struggle, for community isolation, and for worsening of your symptoms. It used to be thought that the harder things got for somebody, the more he or she would develop motivation to change, and we simply had to let those problems run their course. But we saw over and over again that really the opposite was what happened, and situations turned chronic and they turned hopeless for people. So a while back, a change of mindset and some experimentation brought us to the realization that support and care are really what makes the difference in situations like these, and the foundation for being able to provide that kind of support and care is housing. This is the housing first philosophy, and it's proven to be far and away the most effective tool for ending chronic homelessness. Not only do people want this kind of intervention, and I feel funny calling something as basic as housing an intervention, but it is so only because people have been deprived of it for so long. But once housed, people's lives improve in many ways. Their health improves, their stress declines, the use of crisis services lessens, and finally, after years of extreme marginalization, people again have a shot at participating more fully in the life of the community, and that's pretty cool. So today, we're here to celebrate the latest commitment by our community to ending the terrible struggle of chronic homelessness for 91 women and men. And in the coming days and weeks, that many people will feel something different from society and from their community than they have felt for a very long time. In fact, it's already started. Yesterday, 4 people signed leases and took possession of their new furnished apartments here. To make things even better, each apartment was outfitted with the basics anyone needs to make a house a home, with sets of dishes and linens and welcome messages put in place by wonderful volunteers who spent the Saturday before last here stocking the apartments with new supplies they'd purchased and donated to this effort. These new tenants can look forward to a safe and secure home in this nice new building, as well as the on-site support that is so critical to being able to manage many of the daily challenges that still lie ahead for them. Staff will be here around the clock as a supportive presence, and tenants will have access to healthcare services provided by Harborview practitioners in the building, as well as social support and behavioral healthcare support from DESC staff. We at DESC are grateful to be in a community that recognizes the value of supportive housing like this and will invest in it. And invest is really the right word here, because when we create housing like this, we're making 50-year commitments to maintain it for use by this population of people with special needs. There's security in that, not just for the tenants moving in now, but for future generations of people in our community who need this type of support. Thank you all for being part of this as community members. Of course, we didn't make this happen on our own, and we have many people and organizations to thank for bringing this wonderful new home into being. Over the next few minutes, representatives from some key partners are going to share remarks about what this all means from their perspective, and then I'll wrap up with acknowledgments for key partners in the development. So without further ado, first up is King County Executive Dow Constantine. Not only is King County already invested in this project in the form of funding for part of the services and operations costs, but the county is DESC's primary partner in the array of behavioral health work we do in the community for homeless and formerly homeless people, from the Mobile Crisis Team and Crisis Solutions Center program to our psychiatric street outreach to our outpatient mental health and substance use disorder treatment programs. As you likely know, Executive Constantine has recently convened with Mayor Durkan a bold new initiative to tackle homelessness at its core. So please welcome Dow Constantine.
Thank you, Daniel. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This is a great day. Thank you for inviting me to be here this morning. I'm so pleased to join DESC and Mayor Durkan in celebrating the completion of the Estelle. Today we're celebrating homes for 91 people who are spending their last nights on the streets. Most of us take safe housing for granted. But the fact is that safe and affordable housing is out of reach for so many in our community, and that is particularly true of those who are living with serious challenges like chronic mental illness and addiction. For 91 people, the Estelle will offer both safe housing and community. Two things without which many of these residents have been living for a very, very long time. This is housing first in action, bringing individuals inside their own home, their own apartment first, and then offering the care and services to begin to address the reasons that they became homeless in the first place. DESC knows housing first. Under the leadership of the legendary late Bill Hobson, DESC was a national pioneer embracing the concept of supportive housing. I bet a number of you here remember all the grief we had to take in asserting that you didn't have to put all of life's challenges behind you before you deserve to have a warm, safe place to call home. But those critics have now clearly, objectively been proven wrong. DESC's caring, compassionate, and competent housing is both a local and a national model for serving people with intensive needs. Daniel Malone and his staff have continued and expanded that mission of compassion. Like their other supportive housing projects, the Estelle will offer 24/7 case management services, but then the Estelle takes this a step further. And Daniel mentioned some of the services that King County will be helping to provide here. An innovative partnership with King County's Harborview Hospital will set aside 15 units of housing for people who are being discharged from Harborview who have both medical and behavioral health issues. And they will be able to access on-site services for all of their health needs right here at the Estelle. King County is proud to be a partner in this important project. From our county document recording fee revenues, we've awarded a $220,000 a year for 5-year grant to support intensive health and behavioral health services for the residents of the Estelle, as well as employment and other services that offer opportunity for every resident to achieve a healthier and more stable life. Every one of us deserves that chance. So thank you for inviting me to share in this genuine community achievement today. We need more Estelles in this community. There is a portion, a segment of the homeless population for whom this is the right solution. And we have to take this to scale if we're going to do what we are collectively committed to doing, and that's ending homelessness. And to the new residents of the Estelle, I say, welcome home. Thank you.
Thank you, Executive Constantine. Next up is Jenny Durkan, who over the course of last year's campaign and her term as mayor thus far has already shown leadership on homelessness and a commitment to real progress. She clearly doesn't shrink from responsibility, and our community is going to be better for her success. Please welcome Mayor Jenny Durkan.
Thank you so much, Dan and Executive Constantine. I want to say good morning.
Good morning.
That was a little lame. Good morning.
Good morning.
All right. First, when you go second, Executive Constantine and Dan have already said many of the things I was going to say. I want to take a minute and have everyone just look around this room. This is the kind of success that happens when people come together. The Estelle. This is the kind of community that can be built. I particularly want to acknowledge a couple of partners here. The first is for all the people who have been experiencing homelessness or who have experienced this homelessness, who are here with us today, who will be moving into the Estelle. Thank you for all you've done. It takes courage. It takes courage to say, yes, I will trust you. I will move forward. So thank you first to those people. I also want to thank the board members for DESC and others who've been involved in that great organization. It has done tremendous things for our community and has really moved the dial, not just on how do we end homelessness, but how do we change the conversation? As Executive Constantine mentioned, when we started this journey years ago, people said, no, you have to put all your troubles behind you before you can have a house. We know that's not true. We know having that home, that security is the number one thing that people need to move past much of what they're doing. That kind of conversation took a while, and it took courage by all the people who are willing to commit themselves to that. So to them, I think. I also want to thank Harborview Hospital. This is the amazing kind of partnership we can have with the medical community and have a harm reduction philosophy coming to how we address these issues. To know that people can move here directly from Harborview Hospital when they normally could be just discharged to the streets to fend for themselves. To know that we'll have health care on site. That is also an amazing change that's coming to how we address these issues. We, of course, can't move quickly enough. I gave my State of the City last week, and one of the things I mentioned was that people start to call me the impatient mayor. And it's true. I want to move as urgently as possible. But I also know that some things take time. Getting the commitment to build this, working with the county, working with community, and then actually physically building this took years. But look at what this is and the hope that it represents for people in our community. This is the kind of project we can do, not just in Seattle, but regionally. That's why I am so proud to be working with Executive and Mayor Nancy Bacchus and others to make sure that we can really look at those root causes of homelessness. We know what they are, and if we don't go upstream to try to address those and have a different approach as a society, we will never get ahead of this. So we have to make sure that we're developing and looking at strategies regionally. Everyone knows that poverty, homelessness, affordability don't stop at the Seattle border. We know that we have to attack these things as a regional problem, and this kind of community coming together, a partnership with the county, with the city, with DESC, but first and foremost, with community. That's the key. So I just want to thank everyone for being here. I think that this really marks a new day of hope and a model for how we can do things. So thank you very much for being here.
Thank you very much, Mayor Durkan. So I'm going to invite up a special guest to speak with you for a few minutes here. I think it's helpful for people in the community to hear firsthand accounts of what it means for people to go from a situation of long-term homelessness to becoming housed. And we have a person who's willing to share some of his story with us here today. So Mr. Alex Nichols, if you'd please come up. Alex is somebody who lives in a different DESC supportive housing building. He's been there for about a year and a half, and he has agreed, albeit a little bit nervously, to share a little bit of it with us so we can all get a little bit of a stronger sense for what kind of a difference this place is going to make for the 91 people who move in here. So from Alex, and thank you.
First of all, I'd like to thank everybody for being here today. My name is Alex Nichols. I'm a recovering alcoholic and dope addict. I came to Seattle, Washington back in 2008. I was fighting a cocaine addiction, an alcohol addiction. I was living out on the streets, going to the DESC shelter. I live at the Aurora house now, and I've lived there for 1.5 years, and it has done absolutely nothing for me but change my life. I first became homeless at the age of 18. I got introduced to crack and alcohol at the age of 18. I have bipolar, major depression, schizophrenic, and as we all know, those don't mix with alcohol and drugs too well. I was homeless all the way up until my early 20s, still using, still drinking. I moved into a place called the Wintonia. I lived there for 2-3 years and was kicked out because of my addiction. Alcohol and cocaine addiction took over my life. I lived on and off the streets for 4 years, sleeping in doorways, digging in dumpsters, stealing from people, robbing people, to deal with my addiction. My addiction is something that I will never ever get rid of. It will always be with me. It will always tell me stuff like it's okay to go out and drink. It's okay to go out and smoke dope. I did not know about my mental illness when I was living out on the streets. I didn't know about it until I got help through DESC. And ever since then, it has been a struggle for me. I have tried to commit suicide 4 times. I'm a diabetic. The last time I tried to commit suicide, I took 125 units of insulin. I cannot begin to tell you people how much you have changed my life. It is a constant struggle for me to deal with mental illness, alcoholism, drug addiction. On the 10th of next month, I'll have 2 months clean and sober. And that's only by the grace of God that I have that time. Because when I was living out on the street, I was out to die. And today, I can't really say I have a clear mind yet, but I'm working on it. I moved into the Aurora house in 2016. My landlord can tell you I wasn't the greatest resident when I first moved in. But she's a big part of why I'm here today. She has helped me. She has not given up on me. She has given me chances like you wouldn't believe. And for that, I am totally grateful to her and DESC. Having housing is still not easy for me because I still got that drug and alcohol attitude. I still got the stinking thinking. I still at times think I know it all. And when it comes down to it, I know absolutely nothing. All I really know is how to live one day at a time, one step at a time, 1 minute at a time. And, you know, Seattle is a beautiful city. I can't stand the weather, but back where I'm from, I grew up in the Bronx of New York, and I was told it's snowing there. But anyway, I'd like to thank everybody for donating the money. One thing I asked before I came up here if I get one of those awards. And unfortunately I don't. But I'll end with this. I have an award that is way better than that. I have an award called life, a house, people who care about me, people who love me, and I owe it to those people. So thank you.
Thank you, Alex, very much. It turns out to be a good decision on my part to. Okay, so next up is Liz McNamara representing Harborview. DESC and Harborview, while filling quite different niches in the community, feel like peas in a pod to me, with an unwavering commitment to make life better for a part of our community that is too often cast aside. DESC and Harborview have been partnering directly since about 1984, when the National Healthcare for the Homeless Project was first started, and a Harborview nurse at the DESC shelter made that one of the first sites in the country bringing healthcare services directly to homeless people where they are. we've continued to collaborate in many ways ever since, and today there are Harborview primary care practitioners in multiple DESC sites, including our main shelter program, a behavioral health clinic site we have, and another permanent supportive housing program, 1811 Eastlake. Liz is going to share a bit more about our partnership with Harborview here at the Estelle and why it's so important. So please welcome Liz McNamara.
Thank you so much, Dan. Thank you, Alex, for an amazing speech. I get to follow King County Councilman Executive Constantine. This is indeed a great day. It's Harborview's honor to be here today and to have been part of this unique collaboration from vision of the Estelle to where we met and talked about what would our medically complicated folks need to be able to live in a unit, to groundbreaking and to this amazing day today. I think that this work really shows us our shared mission and vision for the most disenfranchised, vulnerable, homeless, medically complicated, behaviorally health complicated patients that we have, people that we have in this city. And this is the way of the future that we all have to work together to get there. I think John, a Harborview patient, said it best when I talked with him last week. John has been at Harborview for almost a year now, waiting for a safe transition out of the hospital. He could leave the hospital, but there's no safe place for him to go. When I asked him about moving in, he said, and I'm going to quote, "I've been in the hospital so long, this is not quite real. I am totally stoked." When they told me there would be a Harborview nurse in the building, I knew I would be safe. So thank you very much, and everyone. Thank you for the opportunity for us to continue to partner together, Dan, and I look forward to more of it.
Very much, Liz. Now, I want to welcome Kim Vu from Bank of America. In the end, it takes money to create buildings like this, and you know, to run the rest of the programs that DESC has. And Bank of America has been in many activities, including here in the Estelle as the tax credit investor through Enterprise and the construction lender in this and some of our other buildings we've created. So in short, we get the money from Bank of America to pay the contractor and get this thing built. But Bank of America has their own unique take on community investment, and Kim is going to share a few thoughts about that. So please welcome Kim Vu.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having Bank of America join us today. Thank you, County Executive Mayor, Alex, and also Daniel and staff for having us join you this morning. At Bank of America, we believe in empowering individuals, families, and communities towards a pathway of economic mobility. Bank of America's community development banking helps build strong and healthy communities by financing affordable housing, educational institutions, healthcare, and economic development across the U.S. From 2005 to 2016, we financed over 210,000 housing units, nearly which 175,000 of those housing units were for affordable housing. Home is a powerful concept, a place where one's life can center, daily needs are met, and the opportunity for joy can flourish. We are proud to work with DESC as part of Bank of America's investment in Seattle and the greater Puget Sound region. Since 2012, Bank of America has invested over $523 million towards affordable housing in King County alone, and which includes over 4,900 affordable housing units. During that same period, the Bank of America Charitable Foundation also invested $6.6 million in grant funding to support workforce development, education, critical needs, and community development to regional nonprofits and community organizations. We are proud to invest our equity and loan capital to make this project partnership possible. With Enterprise Community Partners, we invested nearly $17 million in permanent equity to keep the housing affordable and provided the construction loan, as Daniel mentioned, to build this wonderful home that we're celebrating today. Our local community development banking team, which includes Jan Lasky, our senior relationship manager, worked very closely with DESC, the city, and the county to make this possible. Along with city and county leaders like our mayor and county executive, we are all too aware of the major homelessness crisis in our region. Estelle is just one of the number of projects that we have worked on with DESC. We also financed Cottage Grove Commons in Delridge and recently closed on the financing of N96 supportive housing in December. We're proud to be able to stand with DESC in creating yet another solution that moves people forward towards the path of self-sufficiency. Today, we come together to ensure that 91 individuals from our community can come home to sleep in a warm bed, not just tonight, but for many nights to come. And we won't stop there. We hope to continue to work closely with DESC, the city, the county, and other local agencies and partners like Harborview, who brings an innovative solution to providing care for clients who have special medical needs in order to transition to permanent supportive housing. Throughout the bank, we have tremendous respect and appreciation for the many ways that DESC, led by Daniel and his staff, are changing lives and supporting members of our community who are struggling, meeting them where they're at, and making sure that they're providing them the services they need to help them move forward. We extend our deepest appreciation to everyone who played a role in bringing Estelle to life, and congratulations. And again, thank you to Alex so much for your incredibly powerful story. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Kim. So, it didn't really to us to do something formal like a ribbon cutting here. So in speakers to all gather together, we'll at least do a photo and maybe pretend we had done a ribbon cutting or something like that. Just group.
Here, the mayor and I will handle this.
We do the heavy lifting.
That's probably good.
All
right, thank you all so much. So, we're not done yet, though. So we have many people to thank here, and I hope I still have this. Yes. Who helped bring all this thing together. And I want to start with, to me, the most important group, which are the people who work and volunteer at DESC. And so in the room, I know a lot of people are standing already, so if you are a DESC staff member or board member or other volunteer, could you at least raise your hand? We get it done thanks to people like this, and I especially want to note that the staff team for this building, 100% of them coming from other DESC roles, which really gets us off the ground on the right foot here. That we have a seasoned group of people to come in and open a place, it makes a big difference, and so I'm really glad about that. Okay, so I want to acknowledge the various development and other partners who helped make this thing possible, and in no particular order. And when you hear your organ representing them, if you could sort of make your way up, and I'll present you with the award that we have, and we'll get through this relatively quickly, if we can. So, yeah, there are a bunch of them. Starting with the Washington State Housing Finance Commission. This is Bob here. Anybody from the Housing Finance Commission? These are the folks who award us the tax credits that then we are able to sell to entities like Bank of America through Enterprise in order to get the money to build a place. So I guess they're busy doing other things, which is probably a good thing. So thank you to the Washington State Housing Finance Commission. Next up, the State of Washington Housing Trust Fund. which now finally has some money back in it to do some more things like this. Any of those folks make it up from Olympia? Okay, this is getting easier and easier. All right. So the City of Seattle's Office of Housing, I know some of those folks are here, and Tom Max, Steve Walker, Lori Olson, Dan Foley, any of you please. Thank you, Tom. When the City of Seattle comes on board to one of our developments, we know that the rest of the pieces are going to fall in place because they do a tremendous amount of work to coordinate with other funders and to identify priorities for things happening. And so, you know, that's our first and most important partner when pulling together financing for something like this. So thank you so much, City of Seattle Office of Housing. Impact Capital. I know Rachel was here at least earlier. Hi, Rachel. Thank you very much. Impact Capital was our lender to get the land here and allow this thing to really get off the ground. And they provide the first round of due diligence about what we're proposing to do that really helps make sure that we've got a solid plan going forward. Okay, now on to the people who build the place, Walsh Construction Company, who's done many projects with us. Dale Newcomb, I think I saw here. Dale, please come up. Tom Spicer, Wanita Mclaughlin. Jack Kuster. Dale has directly been involved in building many of our DESC buildings, and he switched roles here. He used to be the site superintendent on other buildings, and now he's the project manager, which is just a different kind of role, but achieving the same end. And the fact that we've got a beautiful thing here that came in on time is largely due to the work of Dale and the other people that he works with at Walsh Construction. So thank you very much. And I want to mention one other person from Walsh Construction, who is Wanita Mclaughlin. I don't know if she's here today or not, but
Kid's got a broken arm.
broke her arm. That's bad timing.
So she was, it was snowboarding.
Sorry about that, kid.
The reason I mentioned Wanita specifically is that when we started the development work on this project, she was working for DESC to be a housing developer. And then along the way, she took this position at Walsh Construction and then was on site here in the building, really helping them with their work to get through all the construction work. So thank you so much, Walsh Construction. Speaking of the development of this project and the fact that Wanita was working here and then she wasn't, well, we needed somebody to help us with the development work on this, and we turned to a partner we've used in the community before, Bellwether Housing, to come in as our development consultants here. And folks from Bellwether, Claire Magula, Susan Boyd, Joanna Martin, any of you here today, Lachlan Foss, Alyssa Alcantara, I'd love to say thank you to you guys. They are customized, so you don't want to take finance. There you go. Thank you very much, you guys. A building couldn't look this good if it wasn't designed really well. And we have architects who we have been with for a really long time and have done an amazing job for us here and elsewhere, and that is SMR Architects. And John Woodworth, Megan Espinosa was the lead designer, Jason Marley. Thank you guys. found it? You
I like
found
that
it?
one.
Okay, that's got your name on it. Thank you. I mean, it's a gorgeous building.
She
and
made it beautiful.
Good job. We were talking about the investment and these tax credits, and we've talked about Bank of America a little bit there. So there's another entity that's part of that, and they're called Enterprise Community Investment, and they're a critical partner for DESC in many ways. They're the people who sort of put the deal together to make this kind of financing all ultimately work out. It's a bizarre set of funding that you have to bring together to do this kind of thing involving investors and so forth, but these folks are in it for the right reasons and they make it happen with us. So Enterprise, Chris Walvord is here, M.A. Leonard, Lorena Gregg, all here. And did you just come up from Portland for this event?
Yep.
See, look at that, that's dedication. Thank you very much, Chris. And of course, Bank of America, the people bringing the money through Enterprise and to us directly for this. So we've got Jan Lasky here from Bank of America, a longtime partner of ours. Thank you, Jan. Some additional partners include our lawyers who help make all this work out. Is Andrea Sato here from Cantor Taylor? There's a lot of complex legal issues with this financing, so we wanted to acknowledge them. The U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development is one of our operating funders, using the continuum of care dollars that they flow through the city of Seattle here in the joint Seattle and King County funding process. So nobody from HUD is here. King County's Department of Community and Human Services, we already saw or heard about the funding that the county is providing for the services and operations, and so Mark Ellerbrook, Anna Strahan, one of you guys want to come up, please? Okay, getting down to it. The City of Seattle's Human Services Department is a key partner of DESC's in so much of what we do. Our emergency shelter work, much of our supportive housing has this HUD continuum of care funding that flows through the city, and so we're engaged very directly with the city's Human Services Department on this. Anybody from HSD here? Maybe you want to bring them their plaque? Thank you very much. Okay, we already covered all those. Last but not least, Harborview Medical Center. So here's just a final little kind of cool thing. So you see the flowers here? These were delivered here this morning by Ruth Estelle Watton, who was the owner of the land that we purchased to build this place on, and she was interested in selling the land because she knew what we were planning to do with it. She'd held this land for a long period of time, and has sort of followed the development along the way, and then decided to welcome us in this special way by showing up and bringing these flowers, and we really appreciate you doing that. What else did I forget? I don't know. But a great day for us. And thank you all so much. It really means a lot that you took the time to come here and be with us for this, and to just know that you all have a part in changing lives of people who are moving in here. It's a wonderful thing. Thanks so much.